Now connected to iPhone.
Hang on. Got him.
And you refused that help, and you started attacking me and attacking my children because that's all you know how to do. There is not a single ounce of love, grace, compassion, mercy, or forgiveness in your entire body. Not an ounce. You are hateful and evil and divisive and nasty. You're a racist. You're a misogynist. You're a bigot. And I don't know what else to say to you. I really don't. Like I said, you attack me all you want to, but you better leave my flock alone. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Leave my flock alone, or with everything that is inside of me, I will fast and pray the wrath of God on you. Do you hear me? I'm telling you now, you're going to leave my flock alone, or I am going to fast and pray that the wrath of God come on you. Not the mercy of God, but the wrath of God. Right now, I'm praying for God's mercy in your life and in your death. I will. Buddy, I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't ashamed to do just what Jesus did and curse a bad fig tree. Do you hear me? Leave my flock alone. You attack me all you want to. If that's what it takes to make you feel better, you just leave my flock alone and you jump on me all you want to. You just have your way with me. You just be as ugly to me as you want to be on your little videos. You spit all over your phone like a dog with rabies if you want to. Hide behind all of the religious props that you want to hide behind while you feed that demon that's inside you, but you leave my flock alone. Guys, I'll see y'all at 9 o'clock. Love you. Bye.
Dive straight into our main story tonight, which concerns voting, a practice that was once sold to youth with the slogan "Vote or Die." And given the state of politics right now, for the first time, I'm requesting more information on the second option. Specifically, with the midterms now just 2 days away, we wanted to focus on a dangerous trend among Republican candidates, denying the legitimacy of the last election.
The fake news, big tech, and blue state liberals stole the election from President Trump.
The 2020 election was a totally rigged election.
In fact, quite frankly, every election since I think George Washington, there's been some kind of a defect in the system.
You can say Biden won the presidency kind of like O.J. is innocent.
I'll say this, those people are ridiculous, but they're having a really good time. Just check out this guy. I've never been as happy as he is hearing an O.J. Simpson joke in 2021. And I have 2 children. And the thing is, those people are not alone. A majority of Republican nominees for House, Senate, or key statewide offices this year deny or question the 2020 election results. And some, like this guy, deny it while trying to add a bit of spectacle.
Hey, Mike Collins here, you pro-Trump America First trucker, running for Congress here in Georgia 10. Well, I understand though Joe Biden was in town yesterday to talk about our elections. It seems that he and Kamala Harris called anyone who disagreed with the federal hijacking of this election a racist. Well, Joe, I got some news for you. Let me tell you what Georgians really do. You see, Georgians are sick and tired of weak-kneed, spineless politicians who won't fight for Trump, get to the bottom of 2020, and fix our elections. Well, if they won't do it, Mike Collins will. Send me to Washington.
Okay. So many things to get into there. Your brain wants to focus on pro-Trump America First trucker, but then wonders, why is he dressed like the world's angriest Target employee? Before noticing, wait, is that a garbage can labelled voting machine? Then also labelled cast ballot, as if they knew that the first label wasn't convincing anyone, but thought that the second one might. Then it takes a minute to focus on the subtle but unmistakable edit point before the explosion, breaking the illusion that that was shot in a single take. Then finally your brain says, hey, he opened with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris think I'm a racist. Did he ever close that loop or nah? And brain, nah. Anyway, that man is completely ridiculous, and given the district where he's running, he's almost certainly going to win on Tuesday. But it is worth dwelling on the promise that he and those other candidates are making, that they are going to fix our elections. Because that speaks to a real problem here, which is that a troubling number of election deniers are running for jobs that can play key roles in administering elections in their states. In fact, over half the country has an election denier running to oversee their elections, and many of them are expected to win. And look, we've talked before about voter suppression on this show, whether that's through voter ID laws, felony disenfranchisement, gerrymandering, or restrictions on mail-in voting. But those tactics take place before you cast your ballots. Tonight, we're going to focus on election subversion, which typically happens after the votes are in. It's a strategy to negate legitimate election results by simply refusing to accept them. Trump famously tried to subvert the last election. And some current candidates are promising that if elected, they'll be able to guarantee a certain result in the future. Take Jim Marchand. He leads the America First Secretary of State coalition. If they win, he's been pretty clear about what that would mean.
When my coalition of Secretary of State candidates around the country get elected, we're going to fix the whole country. And President Trump is going to be president again in 2024.
Look, no wonder Trump likes that message. Also, it probably doesn't hurt that it's coming from a guy who looks like a smaller, paler version of him. Just look at that man. He looks like the Pokemon that Trump evolves from. So if the plan is this overt, and with potential consequences this dire for this election, the next election, and way beyond, tonight let's talk about election subversion. And to understand what we're facing, let's revisit briefly some of the chaos following the last election. As you undoubtedly remember, after Trump's loss, he tried a lot of tactics to swing things back into his favor, including calling Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, to ask him for just a small favor.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
It's still incredible to listen to that, and a cold chill ran down my urethra merely hearing his voice again. Seemingly forgetting at one point both how many votes he needs and the word votes. It's genuinely amazing to listen to someone attempt a coup with the same focused energy of a dad struggling to remember his family's McDonald's order. Yeah, can I get a spicy, crispy, crunchy chicken and two? Do you have something called Son of a Baconator here? Are you the Whopper place or are you the other one? Yeah, I'm in the wrong place, aren't I? Okay, got it. Fuck me! Now, thankfully, Raffensperger declined Trump's request, which left him to fight his battles in the courts, where he lost over 60 lawsuits challenging the election results. He then famously tried at the last minute to bully Mike Pence into refusing to certify Biden's win, including a phone call where Trump called him a wimp and the P word, which I know is supposed to be pussy, but to be honest, the P word sounds like the phrase Geppetto's therapist uses to talk about Pinocchio. And while I'm sure that you remember all of that, there were also smaller, much lesser known incidents where people further down the chain also tried thumbing the scale, like in Wayne County, Michigan, where Trump supporters raised bullshit claims about voting irregularities in Detroit, and a Republican member of the County Board of Canvassers there proposed this simple solution.
I would be open to a motion to certify communities other than the city of Detroit.
That move. All right, we've got some really disturbing news. Steve Bannon has come out and just said it. He said that Donald Trump and his movement are going to try to defy the Constitution and give Trump a third illegal term. And we also have reporting from the New York Times that is showing kind of how they're going to make this happen. I want to talk about this. I know we normally have a lot of fun on the channel, and I do think that, you know, they are trying to make it look like that this is all inevitable. It's not inevitable, okay? They want to make it seem like they can just defy things and nothing matters. It matters. But we have to talk about it because they're serious about it. So we have to be equally serious in our response. Now, here is what the New York Times is reporting. This is really opposite day. Trump has empowered election deniers, and he's still fixated on the fact that he lost the 2020 election because he's a fucking child. President Trump has placed proponents of his false claims to government jobs while dismantling systems to secure voting ahead of next year's midterms. It says here, Ms. Honey suggested that the new administration could declare a, quote, national emergency and justify dictating new rules to state and local government. She said this could be based on an actual investigation of the 2020 election if it showed there had been a manipulation of the vote, which I'm sure they would not mind making up. Quote, and therefore we have some additional powers that don't exist right now, she said in March, according to a recording reviewed by the New York Times. Quote, and therefore we can take these other steps without Congress and we can mandate the states do things and so on. And as I said, this is from a recording the New York Times received that they weren't supposed to get. So thank God that we still have journalism happening in this country. She added, I don't know if that's really feasible. And the people around the president would let him test that theory. Oh, that's where she's wrong. They're going to let you test the theory. Donald Trump is the, I think, only president to ever deny an election and to say that he won it when it was clear that he didn't. And by the way, Donald Trump took this to court a million different times. Didn't win one trial. They didn't even take a lot of this stuff to trial because they said there is no evidence. There is no evidence. But in the court of public opinion, it doesn't really matter if there's evidence or not. It goes on to say, Heather Honey, a high-profile denier of Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election, has been appointed to a senior position in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Honey is a protege of Cleta Mitchell, a lawyer who tried to help Trump overturn the 2020 election results, and now she's in a senior position of the Homeland Security. And this is why it's really important that when people try to overthrow a government, that we adequately punish them for it. Merrick Garland, sorry if you don't like to hear this, but Merrick Garland is, in my opinion, kind of at fault for some of this. I also think Republicans like Mitch McConnell, who could have stopped this before any of it happened and just voted to impeach his ass. But they thought that he would never come back. I mean, Republicans are supposed to be students of history. And how do you not know that unless you adequately punish someone who tries to overthrow democracy, quite often the person who tries to do it again, usually through legal means, and then it's kind of game over. Now, Steve Bannon is showing one way in which Donald Trump will try to maintain power for as long as he's alive. And here's what he had to say.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just thought he accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump, Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will, and you can tell this of how he's pulled this off.
Now, I want to come back to this video, but I do want to quickly point out that someone who knows authoritarian movements like the back of her hand, this is what she does. Ruth Ben-Ghiat said, "This is creepy. In Strongmen, a state that propagandists present autocrats' actions as, quote, sanctioned by a higher power and the fruit of, quote, divine blessing." So they are following the autocrat authoritarian playbook by saying that Donald Trump is empowered by God to remain in power.
We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you just told me. On the one hand, you said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's in his second term already.
At some point in time,
by the way, love this reporter. Notice how it's always, I've said this a million times on the channel, notice how it's always the English, European reporters who are pushing back on these folks. I wish Americans could do this. I wish they could do this, but thank God someone is.
Through Zanny and define all those terms.
But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And to those
if the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up? Would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, then?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all.
That's what it sounds like.
Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing going forward. Where he's having trade over.
You just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. And that,
no. On his policy. First off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people.
Not true. We've shown that Donald Trump is trying to set it up so that elections might not matter. Now, I do believe this, and this is what I want to talk about, is if we voted in record numbers, they on the right said too big to rig. They didn't really do that. But if we truly can make this too big to rig. If we take the energy we had for No Kings and we turn it into an electoral movement where we are voting no matter what, make the lines as long as you want, we are voting. I don't see how they could overthrow a movement like that. And I do believe that movement is brewing. Authoritarians can't remain in power if they're not popular. Donald Trump happens to not be popular at all. The things he's doing are not helping anyone, and people are pissed off. And so they're going to try to make it seem like this is all possible, it's inevitable. It's not. It's only possible if we allow it to happen. Are you going to let it happen? I'm not going to let it happen. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they understand that they serve us, not the other way around. Here's some commentary. Hassan Piker said it's clear they're going to try to convince this is the world of people that add that some kind of martial law to the internal conflict or war, they'll let them, and you'll have fake elections and permanently turkified state. Could be. If we let it. I would love to be wrong, but they keep saying this in public. He's selling Trump 28 merch. He's massively remodeling the White House if it's his own personal residence. I don't really see why the idea should be taken seriously just because it's unconstitutional. Yeah, we got to take this seriously. We have to. Dave Weigel, I did not appreciate this, said, I don't want to engage in the hypothetical because, again, that is giving power to his idea. It's not possible. But, he said, if Democrats can't be the 81-year-old Trump running for a fourth time, we can put a Spirit Halloween sign in the DNC. And where I said, I'm going to quote myself. I love quoting myself from my tweets, but I said, Dave, there aren't going to be any real elections if this becomes our future. Yeah, they're not really acting like that they want, that they're really worried about what the votes say. Mehdi Hassan said, not joking, Jesus Christ is coming away bigger than the current ones. Yes, and then I told you what she said. And I will end with this, because if this were to happen, this is what life in America is going to be like. It's a parody, but it's not too far from the truth. If we don't create the energy to start a movement of pro-democracy individuals who want to make sure that we remain a democracy and not a dictatorship. And I have to say, No Kings should have had voter registration. I don't think that existed. Did it? It should have. For the next one, there's got to be an electoral spirit behind it. We have to be planning for the elections. We have to get people registered. Okay? All right. So I just want to say that. Here's this. See you soon. Bye.
I wake up in my car to start the day. I used to have an apartment, but thanks to tariffs and inflation, traditional housing is no longer affordable. The good news is I'm already prepared for my commute to work. Time to make my way to the Apple, Chevron, Comcast, Tesla complex to start my shift. Those wonderful companies merged after antitrust laws were abolished, and now everyone works for the only employer left in the country. Before I can enter, a government agent searches my car to make sure I'm not harboring any immigrants, and then searches my phone to make sure I haven't said anything